Hello and welcome in to Throwing Bones, the recruiting podcast for Inside Nebraska. I am Greg Smith, senior recruiting analyst here at Inside Nebraska. I am joined, as always, by recruiting analyst Nate Clouse. Nate, how are you, man?
Doing well, doing well. Never a dull moment when you're when you're covering Nebraska athletics, especially Nebraska football.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one way to describe it. As it's funny in a way. I thought, hey, here we'd be talking about visitors that were here this weekend. We could continue recapping kind of my trip to Missouri to see Jaden Dawson, Jaden Riddell, which actually feels like it now happened a month ago because, as all of you listening to this are well aware of, and Scott Frost was fired by Trev Alberts on Sunday following the loss at home to Georgia Southern. It's one of those things where it is shocking yet not at the same time, right? It's after that Georgia Southern game, the mood could not have been like more down. You watch that press conference with Scott Frost, which was his final press conference at Nebraska. He was very down, like his voice was kind of shaky, like it just kind of felt like something was going to happen. I didn't know, or I guess I didn't expect it to be a full out firing right then because we all kind of knew about that October 1st buyout date and all of that. And Nate, I have not gotten a chance to talk with you like personally about kind of your thoughts on all of that and how it went down. I guess when the news came out, what was your immediate reaction?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that it happened, but the timing of it definitely surprised me. I didn't think there would ever be a way that it would happen prior to October, right? And we all know about the buyout clause and how basically cut in half the buyout that the university would owe Scott Frost, if he was let go. And I mean, the writing was on the wall. I think that the timing of it definitely sends a message. I think it shows people that, hey, Trev Alberts is serious, that this is just not acceptable. I think it was a pretty calculated move because now, Trev gets to kind of control the narrative heading into a big game against Oklahoma to where it's not about Scott Frost being on the hot seat and, what's it going to take for him to be able to survive this year and so on and so forth. It's about, okay, who's going to be able to take over for this tradition rich program with great fan support, brand new facilities coming up and on down the list. And so I do think that was a calculated move by Trev. And we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, and one of the things too is to kind of the timing of it, and I think that is probably. And I'm with you. It's the most surprising part of it. I mean, this is the first time in Nebraska history that a coach has been fired this early into the season by a long, long stretch. Like Trev Alberts mentioned, about the buyout, and Nebraska has a history of honoring contracts. Nebraska also has a history of kind of letting this play out. Athletic directors have not always gotten that right. We've seen athletic directors let go in the middle of football seasons, but a coach to be fired. We're not even in the middle, like this early in the football season with 9 games left, presents such a unique opportunity for what is, I guess, the start of the Mickey Joseph era, or his audition for there to be a full-fledged Mickey Joseph era. And I just, from a recruiting perspective, I've been thinking about this all day, and I wrote this morning in the recruiting blitz at nebraska.rivals.com, is that Mickey Joseph and Trev Alberts, I think, are the two exact right people to be at kind of the top of the Nebraska ship right now, leading this thing from a recruiting perspective. We know Mickey Joseph is an ace recruiter and that he will put an emphasis on recruiting as a head coach, the same way he did as an assistant coach. I feel like we can be safe in that. And Trev Alberts will offer all the support in the world. And as he noted in his press conference, he likes to talk with recruits. I see him down there every week talking to recruits. Before games. He does it on a regular basis, and he said he enjoys it. And so I guess, Nate, what are your thoughts of just those two guys being the ones to kind of, whatever's going to happen with this recruiting class and all of that, which is going to be a real question moving forward? Like, what do you think about those two guys kind of steadying the ship as Nebraska football tries to move forward this season?
Well, I'll start with Trev. I think, as an athletic director, in that press conference, he came across as pretty confident in knowing, confident in the timing of the decision, confident in knowing what he's looking for. And then, as far as Trev and Mickey, they're both former players. They've got good players at Nebraska. And Mickey, he's not necessarily a dead man walking, right? He's brand new. So he's not necessarily tied to everything that's happened over the last 5 years. And now he gets the opportunity to try and, turn this thing around, see what he can do, not only on the field, but, especially with recruits. And so when he's talking to recruits, it's not like he's got to pretend that he's going to be, safe or that, or whatever. Right. He can legitimately recruit these guys. Obviously, there's going to have to be some frank conversations that take place with recruits about the situation here. But I honestly do believe he's going to have a chance, whether it's as a head coach or not, he's going to have a chance to stay at Nebraska beyond this season. And so, that makes a huge difference when you're talking to recruits, when you're re-recruiting your commitments and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's going to be really a fine line for Mickey to walk in some ways, but in some ways not, is that I feel like he can be fairly confident in saying, and he can be honest and like, listen, everybody understands the situation. Yes, I am trying to audition for this job. While yes, Trev Alberts is saying that that school is going to undergo a national search, but I'm going to recruit you guys because I believe that I'll have a chance to be here. And it's tough because he's probably not going to say, even if I don't get the head coaching job, like there's still a good chance I'll be here, even though that is the case. I was thinking about this earlier, like even just as a wide receivers coach, unless a new coach gets hired, right? Unless that coach has got some sort of long-standing relationship with that wide receivers coach that he's already had, it's going to be tough to find a better wide receivers coach than Mickey Joseph, right? It would be someone that you would try to go and hire anyway if you were coming to a school like Nebraska and now you've got a bigger budget or what have you. Like you would try and do that. So it's gonna make for a fascinating situation. And there's a couple of recruitments in particular that will be really interesting to see. Like I know Amarian Miller is someone that you mentioned a couple of weeks ago is your favorite recruit in the class. Like what happens with him? Like it's not as if he's not going to have any offers from down south for Nebraska to contend with, but as long as Mickey Joseph is here, you still got a shot to keep him in the boat. Obviously, the uncommitted prospect that everybody will wonder about is Malachi Coleman, who was here over the weekend, who did kind of tweet out a picture of him and Mickey Joseph earlier today, kind of signaling that he's excited about Mickey getting this shot. Like there are just going to be a lot of those types of things that we'll have, like as we continue to move through these. It's going to be a long 9 weeks as we continue to move through these 9 weeks. Kind of figure those things out, because I think it's going to be fascinating, because I do think one thing that we should mention too is that I think there's a lot of excitement with Mickey Joseph being put in place. Like I reported on the site Inside Nebraska last night, that I spoke with a multi-year starter on Nebraska's team who said that the vibe was really good when Mickey Joseph was announced. And I think that is not only felt by the team, but also potential recruits as well, and the fan base.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone was excited when Mickey was hired to come on board the staff. His track record speaks for itself. And there had been, rumors about him joining, the staff previously as well. And people were excited at that point in time too. So, and I've heard the same things, from players on the team and people connected with the program, that there is a certain level of excitement about it. This is not a doom and gloom situation necessarily. I think that, in some cases, there can be some relief and some pressure taken off the team, the coaching staff, and maybe even, some recruits, maybe now they can say, okay, well, it doesn't really matter, what I'm hearing from them day to day. I just want to see what what happens, what do they look like, how do they respond, that type of deal. So having worked at Nebraska during some coaching changes, I can tell you, some of the first things that some of the first conversations that you have with recruits is reminding them that, hey, the head coach may have changed, but everything about the program, the foundation of the program, the tradition of the program, the academic support, the strength conditioning, the facilities, and all the tradition, that is not going anywhere. And so you kind of remind them, about things that they grew to love about Nebraska, beyond just the relationships with the coach, especially the head coach. And for Mickey, he can have those conversations extremely easy, because he's lived it. He's been in their shoes before as a former player. And so I think that's another, dimension to all of this that is going to help him kind of navigate these next 9 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he is, in a lot of ways, like we've said a couple of times, a great ambassador for the program, a great man to lead them at this particular time, just because of the different skill sets that he has. And he gets a chance to, and Caleb Benning mentioned that he would love to see the 2024 Westside defensive back. Obviously, he mentioned that he's excited to kind of see what the team looks like and how they respond with this change. That, I think too, that we sometimes don't give recruits enough credit for understanding the situation that Nebraska was in. Like, I know it was no secret that Nebraska was that Scott Frost was under intense pressure to really deliver at a much higher rate than what he had been, and that recruits understood that once the Ireland loss happened, that kind of changed the game. I think that everybody can kind of see that really changed the game. And it wasn't just that we can reduce it down to, hey, the defense did this or that, or did not do this or that in the Georgia Southern game. And that's what ended up getting him fired. But ultimately, it was about a lot more than that. That there was an overall process that was just lacking. And you could see it week to week during games. You could see it. It's kind of and the lack of preparation to start the season against Northwestern with what resulted in that loss. And so recruits being more savvy than we give them credit for, I think can help Nebraska now, is that it's not going to be this shock like sometimes it is when you have these coaching changes and you see this huge outcry of like, oh my God, how could they do this? You didn't really see a lot of that. Like, you saw some thank yous to Coach Frost. Emmett Johnson on the current team was like, hey, thank you. He gave me my first Power 5 scholarship offer and all of that. But I think a lot of people, players, recruits, fans, media, kind of just saw it coming. And you're right. It can kind of be a relief of pressure now to hopefully let guys on the team go out and play more freely, to then kind of showcase what they've got. And that'll then, of course, trickle down to recruits as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every week is not now, well, we gotta, and if we don't go out and win this game, our head coach's job is in jeopardy. Now, I mean, now they can go play football. And I think that you're right. Recruits that are watching this situation, they understand it. I think they had a good sense or good feel for things probably heading into the season. They're all aware of the coaching changes that happen on the staff heading into the season. And so
that's a good point too. That was kind of the lead up to it as well, right? You have, know, 4 new assistants on offense plus Bill Bush. Like, you kind of understand that, the temperature is raised around Lincoln.
Yeah, no doubt. And so, with NIL and everything now entering the picture of recruitment, I think it makes the prospects realize that, hey, this is a business. This is not, this is a lot more than just football too. And so I think that, prospects are probably more aware of the business side of the sport than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to continue following this, as the weeks go on, and we'll have a lot more coverage at Nebraska.rivals.com for Inside Nebraska to continue to keep you guys updated on the latest. We've got a lot going on the site right now as far as the coaching search goes, recruiting implications. Oh, by the way, we've got the number 2 team in the country in volleyball still chugging along, and they're still undefeated as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep it locked over there for all of the latest in Nebraska football and what's happening volleyball as well. Make sure you like this video up, subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel, and we'll catch you guys later this week.